A giant black wolf appeared at her door in the middle of the storm and dropped a royal crown at her feet. 20 years ago the Alpha King rejected her and left her to die. He never knew she was carrying his twins. Now the sacred beast has found her and the kingdom has discovered its lost queen. But before she can run again, a rider arrives with terrifying news. The Alpha King is coming, and this time he is about to meet the children he never knew existed. The knock came again. Heavy. Low. Not from a human hand. Elena stood frozen beside the fireplace. The candle on the table flickered wildly as if even the flame was afraid. Another howl rolled across the mountain. The windows trembled. 20 years. For 20 years she had hidden from that sound. Lyra stepped out of her room, pulling a blanket around her shoulders. Mother, what is happening? Before Elena could answer, Rowan appeared behind his sister. There is something outside. He said it quietly, but his hand had already moved toward the hunting knife hanging on the wall. The knock came for the third time. Elena's heart stopped. Whoa. Could not be. Not after all these years. She walked to the door as if her feet no longer belonged to her. The cottage was silent. The rain crashed against the roof. The wind screamed through the trees. Her hand touched the handle. She opened the door. Lightning flashed. A giant black wolf stood in the storm. It was enormous. Its dark fur glistened under the rain. Its eyes glowed silver. Ancient. Powerful. Terrifying. The breath left Elena's lungs. The great wolf. The sacred beast of the royal bloodline. The creature that appeared only before the true rulers of the kingdom. The beast lowered its massive head. Then something silver fell from its mouth and landed on the wooden floor. Crown. An old silver crown decorated with moonstones. The crown of the true Luna. Behind her Lyra gasped. Rowan took a step backward. Mother. Who is that? Elena could not answer. The great wolf slowly bent its front legs. Then it knelt. The king of all wolves was kneeling before her. A deep mournful howl escaped its throat. The sound traveled through the mountains. And suddenly lights appeared in the darkness. Torches. Dozens of them. People emerged from the rain. Villagers. Hunters. Old women. Children. One by one they reached the cottage. Then every single person dropped to their knees. An old man lifted tear-filled eyes toward Elena. Your Majesty. Silence. The rain kept falling. The old man's voice shook. We have finally found you. The world seemed to stop. Elena's hands trembled. She had buried that name. She had hidden it beneath years of hard work and simple living. She was no queen. She was only a mother. A woman with 2 children and a small cottage. But the kingdom had found her. Again. A rider suddenly burst through the forest. The horse was covered in foam. The man nearly fell as he climbed down. His face was pale with fear. Your Majesty. He dropped to one knee. The Alpha King is coming. The words struck Elena harder than thunder. The Alpha King. Darius. The man who had shattered her heart. The man who believed she was a traitor. The man who had rejected her before an entire kingdom. And the father of her children. She almost dropped the crown. Mother. Lyra's voice was shaking. Who are these people? Why are they calling you that? Elena could not breathe. Not now. Not tonight. She looked at the villagers. Please go home. But your Majesty. Please. There was something in her voice that made them obey. One by one they rose and disappeared into the rain. The rider left. The torches vanished. Only the great wolf remained. The beast stepped forward. Stopped in front of Lyra. Then gently touched its nose to her hand. A soft silver light appeared. Lyra gasped. The wolf then moved toward Rowan. The same glow spread across his skin. The beast stared at them for a long moment. As if it recognized them. As if it had been searching for them. Then it turned and vanished into the darkness. The rain seemed louder after it left. Rowan slowly closed the door. No more secrets. Elena looked at him. Please. Well. His voice was firm. You owe us the truth. Lyra's eyes were full of fear. Mother, are we in danger? A long silence filled the cottage. Then Elena nodded. The answer made the room colder. Who are you really? Lyra whispered. Elena looked into the fire. The flames danced softly. For 20 years she had prayed this day would never come. She had hidden. She had lied. She had protected them. And now she had run out of time. I was once called Elena Ravenwood. You still are, Rowan said. She slowly shook her head. Long ago I had another name. She lifted her eyes. I was the Luna of the Northern Kingdom. Neither of them moved. I was the mate of the Alpha King. Silence. The crackling fire sounded suddenly very loud. Rowan blinked, then laughed once. A short nervous laugh. That cannot be true. I wish it were not. Mother, Lyra whispered. You knew the Alpha King. Elena closed her eyes. I loved him. The words hung in the air. Then something changed in Rowan's face. A terrible thought entered his mind. His eyes widened. Mo. He looked at his sister, then back at Elena. Mo. Tears filled her eyes. Mo. The Alpha King. His voice broke. Is our father. A single tear rolled down Elena's cheek. She did not need to answer. Lyra covered her mouth. Her legs nearly gave way. Everything they knew about themselves shattered. The king. The most powerful wolf in the kingdom. Their father. Wait. Lyra whispered. Why did you never tell us? 'Cause I wanted you alive. The answer came so quickly that both twins stared at her. She took a deep breath. There are people in this world who would kill you because of your blood. People who fear what you are. And what are we? Elena looked at them. You are the children of the Alpha King. You are heirs to the throne. Silence. Then suddenly a howl echoed outside. Another answered it. Then another. Wolves. Many wolves. Approaching the mountain. Elena stood so quickly that her chair fell. Whoa. Hard knock shook the door. Not slow this time. Urgent. Desperate. Rowan opened it. A man stumbled inside. He was soaked by rain. Blood stained his sleeve. When he lifted his head, Elena froze. Cashin. The man smiled weakly. Hello, Elena. Beta Cashin. The Alpha King's closest friend. The man she had not seen in 20 years. How did you find me? The great wolf led me. Fear appeared in her eyes. You are here. Then others are coming. He nodded. I rode ahead to warn you. Warn me about what? Cashin looked at the twins. Then back at Elena. The queen knows you are alive. The room became silent. And she has sent assassins. Lightning exploded outside. Cashin's face grew pale. They are already climbing this mountain. At that exact moment another sound came from the darkness. The sound of horses. Many horses. Coming straight toward the cottage. The sound of horses grew louder. Hooves pounded against the wet earth. Closer. Closer. Then they stopped. Right outside the cottage. No one breathed. Cashin pulled a dagger from his belt. Rowan gripped his hunting knife. Lyra moved beside her mother. Elena's hands were shaking. Not because she feared the assassins. Not because she feared death. She feared the past. A deep voice suddenly came from outside. Open the door. Everything inside her froze. She knew that voice. Even after 20 years. Even after all the pain. King Darius Blackthorn had come. The room became so quiet that the sound of rain seemed deafening. Cashin slowly lowered his dagger. It is him. Elena looked as if all the blood had drained from her face. Well, not yet. She was not ready. She would never be ready. The voice came again. Elena. Name. The way he said it. Like a prayer. Like a wound that had never healed. Tears suddenly burned her eyes. Mother. Lyra whispered. Is that him? Elena could not answer. Her mind had already gone somewhere else. 20 years into the past. To another rainy night. Another door. Another life. She had been 20 years old. Young. Hopeful. Madly in love. The royal palace had glowed with thousands of candles. Flowers filled every hallway. Music echoed through the grand hall. It was her mating ceremony. The entire kingdom had gathered. Tonight she would become Luna. Tonight she would stand beside the man she loved. Darius. She remembered the way he looked. Tall and powerful. Black hair falling over his shoulders. Golden eyes that always softened when he looked at her. He had taken her hand before the ceremony. Are you nervous? Little. He smiled. Do not be. After tonight the entire kingdom will know what I already know. And what is that? That you are the best thing that ever happened to me. She had laughed. Then he kissed her forehead. She remembered every second, every heartbeat, because it had been the happiest moment of her life. Until everything was destroyed. The doors of the great hall had suddenly burst open. Soldiers entered. Their faces were grim. Behind them came Celine Ashford. Beautiful, elegant, smiling. But there had been something strange in her eyes. Something cold. She carried a small wooden chest. Everyone looked at her. Your Majesty, she had said softly. I beg forgiveness for interrupting the ceremony. Darius frowned. What is this? Celine opened the chest. Inside were royal jewels. The missing royal jewels. The same jewels that had disappeared 2 days earlier. Gasps filled the hall. Then Celine pulled out something else. A bloody dagger. The entire room went silent. This dagger, she said, belonged to Lord Edgar, the king's most trusted advisor. He was found dead an hour ago. Elena remembered the terrible silence. She remembered the fear crawling into her heart. Then Celine looked directly at her. These items were discovered in Lady Elena's chambers. The world stopped. Elena whispered. Darius stared at her. I do not understand. I was there myself. Celine said softly. I searched her room. Prayed I was wrong. But I was not. Murmurs spread through the hall. Traitor. Murderer. Eve. The words came like arrows. Elena looked around in horror. No, this is impossible. I never saw those things. Darius stepped toward her. Elena, tell me the truth. I am telling the truth. Tears filled her eyes. I did not do this. But another voice suddenly spoke. A servant. I saw her near Lord Edgar's chambers tonight. Then another. I saw her carrying a box. Then another. I heard her arguing with him. One by one the lies surrounded her. She could barely breathe. Darius looked confused. Then angry. Elena grabbed his hand. Please believe me. Please. You know me. You know I could never do this. For a long time he said nothing. That silence hurt more than any accusation. Then he slowly pulled his hand away. Her heart broke. Darius, please. But his face had changed. The king had replaced the man she loved. You stand accused of murder and treason. I am innocent. You are accused of stealing from the crown. I did not. You are accused of betraying your kingdom. Please. He looked at her. And for the first time there was doubt in his eyes. That doubt destroyed her. The bond between them seemed to crack. Then came the words she would never forget. I reject you. Silence. Every candle seemed to die. Every sound vanished. I reject you as my mate. Her knees gave way. Pain exploded through her chest. The mate bond shattered. It felt as if someone had ripped her heart apart with bare hands. Tears streamed down her face. Please. Do not do this. But Darius turned away. Guards. Take her. He screamed. She begged. No one listened. The entire kingdom watched. Some pitied her. Others smiled. Celine smiled the most. That smile would haunt Elena forever. Later that night she escaped. She did not remember how. Only that she ran. Through rain. Through darkness. Through endless pain. She ran until her legs could no longer carry her. Then she collapsed beside a river. Alone. Rejected. Broken. She had pressed her hand against her chest. The bond was gone. The man she loved was gone. Everything was gone. Then suddenly she became sick. A sharp pain twisted inside her. She fell to her knees. Moments later, an old healer found her. The woman examined her, then smiled sadly. Child, you should not be running. You are carrying babies. Elena remembered staring at her. Babies. The word made no sense. The healer touched her cheek. You are going to be a mother. The world changed again. She had lost everything. But she had not lost everything. Because she was no longer alone. She carried 2 tiny lives inside her. The children of the man who had rejected her. The only pieces of him she still loved. Back in the cottage, a tear slipped down Elena's cheek. The memory faded. Mother, Lyra whispered. What happened next? Elena looked at her children. And finally said the words she had carried for 20 years. I never went back. Chose you instead. Silence filled the room. Then another sound came from outside. A horse stopped. Footsteps approached the door. And the deep voice came again. Elena, please, open the door. Because this time, the Alpha King had come alone. The cottage stood silent. Rain still fell outside, but softer now. The storm seemed to be holding its breath. Then came another knock. Elena. The voice was deep, tired, almost broken. Please, open the door. Rowan looked at his mother. This is him. Elena could not move. 20 years ago she would have run to that voice. Tonight she wanted to run from it. Cassian stepped closer to her. You cannot hide anymore. She closed her eyes. No. Lyra's hands trembled. I want to see him. Rowan looked at her in disbelief. You want to meet the man who rejected our mother. I want to see the man who never knew we existed. The room became quiet. Outside the voice came again. I know you are in there. A long silence followed. Then something happened that none of them expected. The Alpha King spoke again. I came alone because I do not want a crown tonight. I do not want a throne. I only want the truth. Elena's heart twisted painfully. That voice no longer sounded like a king. It sounded like a man carrying years of regret. She slowly walked toward the door. Mother, Rowan said. You do not owe him anything. She touched his cheek. Oh, but I owe myself an ending. Her hand reached the handle. For one long moment she simply stood there. Then she opened the door. The world seemed to stop. King Darius Blackthorn stood in the rain. He looked older. The proud young warrior she once loved had become a man marked by time. His black hair carried silver strands. There was a scar across his cheek that had not existed before. His golden eyes looked tired. So very tired. For several heartbeats neither of them spoke. They simply stared. 20 years disappeared. 20 years returned. 1,000 memories stood between them. Then Darius whispered her name. Elena. Tears immediately filled his eyes. She had imagined this moment many times. She had imagined anger, hatred, revenge. Instead she felt only sadness. You are alive. His voice cracked. I searched for your grave for 20 years. She swallowed hard. You never found one because I never died. He looked at her as if he could not believe she was real. The rain soaked his clothes. He did not seem to notice. I thought I lost you forever. You did. The words struck him. Pain flashed across his face. Then his eyes moved past her. Toward the cottage. Toward the 2 young people standing behind her. He frowned. For a moment he simply stared. Something strange crossed his face. The girl had Elena's eyes. The young man had his own. A strange feeling settled in his chest. Who are they? No one answered. Darius looked back at Elena. Who are they? Elena's fingers trembled. She had hidden this truth for 20 years. And now it stood before her. Lyra slowly stepped forward. I am Lyra. Rowan remained where he was. His eyes never left the king. I am Rowan. Darius nodded slowly. Beautiful names. Silence followed. Then he looked at Elena again. Are they your children? The question felt like a knife. He smiled softly. I am glad. At least you were not alone. Those words almost broke her. Because he still did not understand. Cassian suddenly stepped forward. Darius. The king looked at him. What is it? The beta took a deep breath. There is something you need to know. The air inside the cottage became heavy. Elena closed her eyes. Not like this. But it was already too late. Cassian looked directly at his king. They are your children. Silence. Even the rain seemed to stop. Darius did not move. His voice was barely a whisper. Cassian spoke again. Lyra and Rowan are your son and daughter. You have twins. Nothing happened. No expression. No movement. The words simply hung in the air. Then suddenly Darius stumbled backward. Whoa. His breathing became uneven. Whoa. He looked at Elena. She could not look away. You were pregnant. Tears filled her eyes. His face turned white. When I rejected you, you were carrying my children. She nodded once. The king looked as if the ground beneath him had disappeared. His eyes moved to Lyra, then to Rowan. He looked at their faces, their eyes, at the things he should have seen immediately. A soft broken sound escaped his throat. 20 years. 20 years. He had children. Children who grew up without him. Children whose first words he never heard. Whose first steps he never saw. He slowly looked at Rowan. You are my son. Rowan's expression remained cold. Then he looked at Lyra. You are my daughter. Tears rolled down Lyra's cheeks. No one spoke. Darius suddenly covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. The mighty Alpha King began to cry. I did not know. He whispered. I swear to the moon goddess I did not know. No one answered. I would never have left you. Still silence. He slowly dropped his hands. Pain filled his golden eyes. I have missed 20 years. 20 years of your lives. His gaze found Elena. Why did you never tell me? She looked at him for a long moment. Then she finally answered. 'Cause I was afraid. Afraid of what? She took a shaky breath. Afraid that the same people who destroyed my life would destroy my children too. The answer struck him like an arrow. Then another terrible thought entered his mind. Who framed you? Elena looked away. I do not know. But I know one thing. Whoever did it wanted me gone. A cold silence filled the room. Then Cassian spoke quietly. There is more. Everyone looked at him. I recently found old records hidden inside the royal archives. Records that someone tried to burn. Darius frowned. What records? Cassian swallowed. Proof that Elena never stole the royal jewels. Proof that Lord Edgar's murder was planned long before the ceremony. The king's face darkened. Who did it? The beta's expression became grave. I do not know. Not yet. But someone inside the palace betrayed you both. The fire crackled softly. Outside the rain finally stopped. Then from somewhere deep in the forest came a long wolf howl. Another answered. Then another. Cassian suddenly went pale. Whoa. Elena turned toward him. What is it? The beta moved to the window. Torches. Hundreds of them. Coming through the trees. His face lost all color. They found us. Cassian slowly turned around. The Queen's soldiers. And they are not here to talk. The lights in the forest kept growing. One torch became 10. 10 became 50. Then hundreds. They moved like a river of fire through the darkness. No one inside the cottage spoke. The danger had arrived. Cassian pulled the curtain aside and looked again. They are surrounding the mountain. Darius stepped beside him. How many? Too many. The king's face hardened. His grief vanished. The warrior returned. He looked at Elena. You need to leave. She shook her head. Whoa. I've been running for 20 years. I will not run anymore. Before Darius could answer, another sound came from outside. The howl of wolves. Not one. Not two. An entire pack. The soldiers had brought wolves with them. They had come prepared. Lyra looked at her mother. Are they really here to kill us? No one answered. Because everyone already knew the answer. A cold wind slipped through the cracks of the cottage. The fire flickered. Then a voice echoed from outside. By order of Queen Selene Ashford. Open the door. Silence. Second voice followed. Surrender the woman known as Elena Ravenwood, and no one else will be harmed. Rowan laughed bitterly. Liars. Darius looked toward the door. They will kill everyone. Cashin nodded. Including the villagers. Elena closed her eyes. All these people had protected her secret. And now they would suffer because of her. She stepped forward. I will go. Well. 4 voices answered at once. She looked at them. I cannot let innocent people die for me. Darius moved in front of her. I already failed to protect you once. I will not fail again. Their eyes met. For one painful second she saw the young man she had once loved. The one who promised to protect her forever. A sharp pain crossed her chest. Then another voice came from outside. You have 1 minute. The soldiers began lighting arrows. Tiny flames appeared in the darkness. Cashin cursed under his breath. They are going to burn the cottage. Lyra's face turned pale. Burn our home. Darius looked around the small room. The wooden table. The books. The blankets. Simple life. Peaceful life. A life that should have belonged to his family. Instead they had lived here because of him. Because of his mistake. Regret settled inside him like poison. He looked at Rowan. The young man stood tall. Strong. Fearless. The son he never knew. Then he looked at Lyra. She held her mother's hand. She had Elena's eyes. The same eyes that once looked at him with love. He swallowed hard. I have children. The words escaped before he could stop them. Nobody answered. I have children. This time his voice broke. 20 years. He had missed everything. The first words. The first steps. The birthdays. Tears. Laughter. Every memory had been stolen from him. Or perhaps he had thrown them away himself. He slowly sat in a chair. His hands trembled. Elena watched him. She had never seen the mighty Alpha King look small. Remember, he whispered. The night I rejected you. I hated myself the moment you left. Her eyes widened. He looked at the floor. I searched for you for months. Then months became years. I sent men everywhere. Followed every rumor. Every false trail. I never stopped looking. Silence filled the room. Why? She asked quietly. As I loved you. The words landed like a stone in still water. No one moved. Even Cashin looked surprised. Darius lifted his eyes. I never stopped. Not for one day. Pain shone in his golden eyes. Rejecting you was the greatest mistake of my life. Elena's heart trembled. A part of her had waited 20 years to hear those words. Another part no longer believed them. You believed I was a murderer. No. You believed I betrayed you. No. Tears filled his eyes. And I will regret that until my last breath. The room became silent. Outside the soldiers shouted orders. But inside the cottage there was only pain. Then Rowan suddenly spoke. If you regret it so much, then why did you reject her? The question cut through the room. Darius looked at him. 'Cause I was a fool. Rowan folded his arms. That is not enough. The king nodded slowly. Well, it is not. I doubted her. I listened to lies. And I broke the heart of the only woman I ever loved. Silence followed. Then Rowan did something unexpected. He stepped closer. You hurt my mother. No. You left her alone. No. She cried herself to sleep for years. Darius closed his eyes. Each word felt like another blade. Rowan's voice softened. And yet she never hated you. Everyone looked at Elena. She lowered her eyes. The king stared at her. You never hated me. She swallowed. Tried. A sad smile appeared on his face. But you could not. Tears shone in her eyes. Because a part of me remembered the man you used to be. Silence. A long painful silence. Then suddenly a flaming arrow flew through the window. Struck the wall. Everyone jumped. Another arrow came. Then another. Fire spread across the curtains. They are attacking. Cashin shouted. Darius immediately stood. Take the back exit. What about you? Lyra asked. I will hold them off. Well, Elena said. I'm not leaving you again. The king looked at her. You must protect our children. The word "our" made her chest tighten. A loud crash came from outside. The front door shook. The soldiers were trying to break in. Another crash. Wood splintered. Rowan grabbed a hunting spear. We fight together. Darius looked at him. The young man looked exactly like him when he was 20. Pride filled his chest. My son. The word stayed inside him. Third crash. The door nearly broke. Cashin opened the back door. Smoke began filling the cottage. The flames climbed higher. Suddenly another howl echoed outside. Powerful. Ancient. The great wolf. The sound silenced everything. Even the soldiers stopped. Then a second howl answered. Then a third. Dozens of wolves emerged from the darkness. Silver eyes glowed between the trees. Cashin's face turned pale. Impossible. Lyra whispered. The beta looked toward the forest. The old legends are true. The great wolf has called the royal pack. Before anyone could speak again, the front door exploded inward. A soldier stepped inside. Then froze. Because standing in front of him was the Alpha King. Golden eyes burning. Murder in his face. And behind him, the wolves of legend were coming. The soldier who burst through the door never had the chance to speak. Darius moved like lightning. His hand shot forward and grabbed the man's throat. The next second the soldier was thrown back into the rain. He crashed into 3 others and all of them fell into the mud. Another howl split the night. The royal pack poured from the forest. Huge wolves with silver eyes and dark fur. Creatures from old stories. Creatures many believed no longer existed. The soldiers stepped backward in fear. The great wolf appeared at the edge of the clearing. Its enormous body stood taller than any horse. Its silver eyes burned in the darkness. Then it lifted its head and roared. The mountain seemed to shake. The wolves attacked. Chaos exploded. Men screamed. Horses reared. The royal pack tore through the line of soldiers like a storm. Inside the cottage, smoke filled the air. Flames climbed the walls. Cashin grabbed a blanket and threw it over the fire, but it was already spreading. We have to leave. Darius looked at Elena. Take the children and go. She shook her head. You are coming with us. A faint smile touched his face. Still giving me orders. Another flaming arrow pierced the roof. The cottage groaned. Part of the ceiling collapsed. Lyra cried out. Darius moved instantly and pulled her away. His hand remained on her shoulder for a moment. His daughter. His little girl. He wanted to hold her. To tell her how sorry he was. But there was no time. Oh, he said softly. The back door burst open. Cold air rushed inside. Cashin led the way. Rowan remained standing. He looked through the broken front door. The battle outside was growing worse. More soldiers were arriving. Hundreds of them. This is because of us, he said quietly. Elena answered. This is because evil fears the truth. A loud scream echoed outside. Then another. The flames reached the old wooden shelves. Books fell into the fire. The small cottage that had been their home for 20 years was dying. Lyra stared at it. This is everything we have. Tears filled her eyes. Elena gently touched her face. Home is not wood and stone. Home is the people you love. The words seemed to give her strength. They stepped into the rain. The mountain had become a battlefield. Soldiers fought wolves in the mud. Torches lay scattered across the ground. Thunder rolled overhead. The great wolf stood in the center of it all. Watching. Waiting. Suddenly an arrow flew toward Elena. Darius saw it. Elena. He threw himself in front of her. The arrow struck his shoulder. Pain flashed across his face. Elena grabbed him. Blood spread across his black clothes. It is nothing. He lied. But his face had gone pale. Rowan stared at the king. Without thinking, he stepped forward and held Darius steady. Their eyes met. For one strange moment neither of them looked away. The same golden eyes. The same stubborn expression. The same pride. A father and son standing together for the first time. Then a cry came from the forest. More soldiers. They are coming from the east. Cashin shouted. The mountain path. They are cutting off our escape. Darius pulled the arrow from his shoulder. Blood poured down his arm. We go north. The old caves. Cashin nodded. The caves can hide us until dawn. Another burning beam crashed inside the cottage. Flames exploded through the windows. The little home that had protected them for 2 decades was lost. Elena looked at it. Memories filled her mind. The first steps of her children. Their birthdays. Their laughter. Their bedtime stories. Everything was turning to ash. A tear rolled down her cheek. Then a scream shattered the moment. A soldier rushed toward Lyra with a sword. Rowan moved. Fast. Too fast. He stepped between them. The soldier raised his blade. Then suddenly something strange happened. A low growl escaped Rowan's throat. His eyes flashed gold. The air around him changed. Everyone froze. Even the soldier. Pain crossed Rowan's face. He fell to one knee. Rowan. Lyra cried. He looked up. Fear filled his eyes. Mother. Something is happening. His body began to tremble. The ground beneath him cracked. The great wolf suddenly turned. Its silver eyes fixed on Rowan. It let out a powerful howl. Then every wolf on the battlefield stopped fighting. Every silver eye turned toward him. No one understood. Then Rowan screamed. His body bent. Bones cracked. The sound echoed across the clearing. His hands became claws. Dark fur spread across his skin. Elena's face went white. Mo. Cannot be. Darius stared in shock. He is shifting. But Rowan had never shifted before. Not once. He had lived 20 years as a human. Yet now the impossible was happening. The transformation continued. Larger. Stronger. More violent. The young man disappeared. In his place stood a gigantic black wolf. Larger than any ordinary wolf. Its eyes glowed like molten gold. Silence fell across the mountain. Even the soldiers looked terrified. Cashin slowly stepped backward. By the moon goddess. Darius could barely breathe. He knew that wolf. Not the creature itself. The markings. Size. Power. He had seen drawings of it as a child. Legend. Prophecy. The wolf of the first king. The ancient guardian of the royal bloodline. The strongest wolf born once every 100 years. The great wolf walked forward. For the first time that night it lowered its head. Not before Elena. Not before Darius. Before Rowan. The entire royal pack followed. One by one they bowed. The young black wolf stood motionless in the rain. Golden eyes wide with confusion. Elena's heart pounded. Her son. Her son was something far greater than she had ever imagined. Then an arrow suddenly flew from the darkness. It struck the ground beside Rowan. A voice rang across the battlefield. Kill the heirs. Every head turned. At the edge of the forest stood another group of soldiers. Their armor carried the symbol of the queen. And at their front stood a hooded woman. She slowly lowered her bow. Then she smiled. Cold, terrible smile. Elena recognized it instantly. Because 20 years ago she had seen that same smile in the royal hall. Celine had found them. The rain slowed to a soft mist. For one strange moment the battlefield became silent. The wolves stopped moving. The soldiers stopped breathing. Every eye turned toward the hooded woman standing at the edge of the forest. She slowly removed her hood. Long dark hair fell over her shoulders. Cold blue eyes gleamed in the firelight. Queen Celine smiled. 20 years had passed. Yet her face looked almost unchanged. Beautiful. Elegant. Cruel. Elena felt her blood turn to ice. It was her. The woman who had stolen everything. The woman who had destroyed her life. Celine's gaze moved past Elena and settled on the giant black wolf. How interesting. Her voice was soft. I came looking for one secret and found two. She looked toward Rowan. The legendary heir. The old stories were true after all. Darius stepped forward. You came here yourself. Am surprised. Selene smiled. I would never miss a moment like this. The king's eyes darkened. You sent assassins. Course I did. You tried to murder innocent people. There are no innocent people here. Her gaze found Elena. Only old mistakes. The words cut through the night. Elena slowly stepped forward. Wait. The queen looked at her. Why what? Why did you destroy my life? For the first time Selene's smile faded. 'Cause you had everything. Silence. You were loved by the people. You were loved by the king. You were chosen by the great wolf. Everything I wanted belonged to you. Her eyes became hard. So I took it. The truth hit everyone like a storm. Even Darius looked shocked. You framed her because of jealousy. Selene laughed softly. Jealousy is a powerful thing. Then her face became cold again. And I would do it all over again. Darius's hands clenched. You murdered Edgar. You planted the jewels. You lied to me. She answered without shame. 'Cause I knew your weakness. You trusted evidence more than your heart. The king looked as if someone had struck him. Every terrible choice he had made suddenly stood before him. Selene pointed toward Elena. And look what happened. One accusation. One lie. And you threw away your mate. The words were merciless. Darius could not speak. 'Cause she was right. He had done exactly that. The queen's eyes moved to Rowan again. Kill the boy. Archers raised their bows. Instantly the royal pack stepped forward. A wall of wolves formed around Rowan. Selene frowned. Interesting. The beasts have chosen him. She looked at Lyra. And what are you? The question hung in the air. Then something unexpected happened. The wind suddenly changed. A strange silver light appeared around Lyra's feet. She looked down in confusion. Mother. Elena's eyes widened. The light grew brighter. Tiny silver sparks rose into the air. The great wolf slowly turned toward her. Its silver eyes glowed. Then it walked toward Lyra. Everyone watched. The giant beast stopped before her. And bowed. Second time. This time to the daughter. The ground began to tremble. A soft glow spread from Lyra's hands. The rain itself seemed to shine. Selene took a step backward. Whoa. She whispered. That cannot be. Cassian stared in amazement. The moon blessing. Lyra looked frightened. What is happening to me? No one answered. 'Cause no one knew. The silver light climbed higher. Then symbols appeared on her skin. Ancient glowing marks. The same symbols carved into the oldest royal temple. Elena covered her mouth. Prophecy. Darius looked at her. Oh, prophecy. She could barely speak. The first king had 2 children. A son blessed by the wolf. And a daughter blessed by the moon. The king's eyes widened. He slowly looked at his children. Rowan. And Lyra. The prophecy had returned. A sudden gust of wind exploded across the clearing. The silver light around Lyra became blinding. She lifted her hands. Without meaning to. Without understanding how. A circle of glowing light spread outward. Every arrow aimed at her family shattered. Every torch went out. Darkness swallowed the mountain. Only Lyra remained glowing. Selene's face turned pale. Kill her. He screamed. Kill her now. The soldiers hesitated. Fear filled their eyes. The queen's voice became shrill. Do it. No one moved. Because something ancient had awakened. Lyra looked around in shock. Tears filled her eyes. Mother. I do not understand. Elena ran to her. She wrapped her arms around her daughter. It is all right. But it was not all right. Nothing would ever be all right again. The secrets of 20 years were rising like ghosts. Then suddenly a horn sounded in the distance. Another army. Cassian turned. More riders. The queen smiled again. You see. I never come unprepared. Hundreds of soldiers appeared on the mountain path. They carried royal banners. The family was trapped. Darius stepped in front of Elena and the twins. Stay behind me. Selene laughed. One king against an army. Very brave. The king's eyes never left her. Have enough. You have nothing. Have my family. Silence. For the first time in 20 years he said the word aloud. Family. Elena looked at him. Something warm and painful moved inside her chest. Then Selene raised her hand. Capture the woman. Kill the heirs. And bring me the king alive. The soldiers charged. The wolves attacked. The mountain exploded into chaos again. Lyra's silver light filled the darkness. Rowan's giant wolf roared. Darius drew his sword. The battle had begun. Then through the smoke and confusion someone grabbed Elena from behind. A hand covered her mouth. A blade pressed against her throat. She struggled. Too late. A voice whispered into her ear. Do not move. Her eyes widened. The man wore royal armor. But she had never seen him before. He dragged her backward into the trees. No one noticed. Not Darius. Not the twins. Not even the great wolf. Within seconds she disappeared into the darkness. And the last thing she heard before the forest swallowed her was Lyra screaming. Mother! Mother! Lyra's scream cut through the battlefield. Darius turned at once. Elena was gone. For a heartbeat he could not understand what had happened. Then he saw broken branches leading into the forest. Someone had taken her. A cold terror gripped his chest. Elena! He shouted her name. No answer. The battle around him seemed to disappear. The soldiers. The wolves. The fire. Nothing mattered. Only her. Rowan's great black wolf lifted its head and let out a furious roar. The sound shook the trees. Even the enemy soldiers stepped back. Lyra's silver light flickered wildly. Tears streamed down her face. They took her. They took our mother. Darius looked toward the dark forest. A terrible memory returned to him. 20 years ago he had lost Elena once. He would not lose her again. Never again. Cashin ran to him. This is a trap. No. If you chase her now they will surround you. I do not care. Darius. I said I do not care. The king's golden eyes burned. I searched for her for 20 years. Found her tonight. I found my family tonight. And someone has stolen her from me again. His voice cracked. Cannot let that happen. Cashin fell silent. For the first time in many years he saw not a king. Not an alpha. Only a man terrified of losing the woman he loved. Darius slowly looked at Lyra and Rowan. Protect your sister. The great black wolf lowered its head. As if it understood every word. Then Darius ran into the forest. Branches whipped against his face. Mud splashed beneath his boots. The night was dark. Too dark. But he followed the broken leaves. The crushed grass. The faint scent of Elena. Please be alive. The prayer escaped his lips before he even realized it. Ahead he heard voices. He slowed. Then he saw them. 3 soldiers. And Elena. Her hands were tied. A blade rested against her throat. She looked up and saw him. Darius. The relief in her voice nearly broke him. One of the soldiers laughed. The king came after all. Release her. Darius said quietly. The man smiled. Whoa. A second soldier stepped forward. The queen wants her alive. The king's eyes narrowed. Then take me instead. Elena looked at him in shock. Amy. Let her go. The soldiers laughed. How noble. One of them said. The mighty Alpha King willing to trade his life for a woman he rejected. Pain crossed Darius's face. He never looked away from Elena. I was a fool. He said softly. I know that now. The forest became strangely quiet. Elena stared at him. I spent 20 years regretting one moment. One terrible moment. His voice shook. Every night I wondered where you were. Few were alive. Few hated me. He took another step forward. I never stopped loving you. The words seemed to freeze the air. Elena's breath caught. The soldiers exchanged glances. Darius kept walking. I loved you when I rejected you. I loved you when I searched for you. I loved you when I thought you were dead. And I love you now. A tear rolled down Elena's cheek. "Please," he whispered. "Do not leave me again." The soldier holding her suddenly pulled her closer. "Enough." The king stopped. The soldier grinned. "How touching. But it changes nothing." He raised his sword. And then a deep growl echoed through the forest. Everyone froze. Golden eyes appeared between the trees. Then another pair. Then another. The royal pack. The wolves stepped from the darkness one by one. The soldiers turned pale. The great wolf appeared behind them. Its silver eyes glowed like moonlight. The man holding Elena trembled. "Whoa, whoa." The giant beast took one step forward. Then another. The soldiers released Elena. Ran straight into Darius's arms. He held her tightly, as if she might disappear again. Neither of them spoke. For one long moment there was only relief. Then screams shattered the silence. The wolves attacked. The soldiers never stood a chance. Moments later the forest became quiet again. Darius slowly released Elena. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "No." But her hands still trembled. He gently touched her face. "I thought I had lost you." She looked at him. "Why did you come after me?" He almost smiled. "Because I cannot lose you again." Silence settled between them. Then footsteps approached. Cashin appeared from the trees. Behind him came Lyra and Rowan. The giant black wolf shifted back into human form. Rowan collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Elena ran to him. "Are you all right?" He nodded. "Think so." Then Lyra threw her arms around her mother. "Thought I lost you." "Never." Elena whispered. "Never." The family stood together beneath the trees. For the first time, a strange warmth filled the air. Then a slow clap echoed through the forest. Everyone turned. Queen Selene stepped from the darkness. She was alone, smiling. "I must admit, this is beautiful." Darius moved in front of his family. The queen laughed. "Still protecting her. Always too late." Her eyes suddenly hardened. "Tell them." "Silence." "Tell them what?" Darius asked. Selene looked at Elena. "Or perhaps I should." She stepped forward. 20 years ago I did not only frame you. Killed someone." The forest became still. The queen's smile widened. "I poisoned the old king." Darius stopped breathing. "Whoa." "I murdered your father." The words struck like thunder. "I watched him die. I listened while he begged for his son. And then I blamed Elena for everything." Darius's face lost all color. His father. The king he loved. The man whose death had shattered him. Selene killed him. She smiled. "And you helped me." "Silence." "You rejected your mate. You threw her away. You gave me the throne." The king's hands began to shake. A darkness entered his eyes. Terrible darkness. "For 20 years I have ruled because of your weakness," Selene said softly. Then she looked at the twins. "And now your children will die because of it." She raised her hand. Suddenly hundreds of torches lit up around the forest. Soldiers. Freeware. They had been surrounded the entire time. Selene smiled. "Checkmate." Torches burned in every direction. The forest was no longer dark. It glowed red and gold. Soldiers stepped from behind the trees. Dozens. Then hundreds. Their armor shone beneath the moonlight. They had surrounded the family completely. Lyra moved closer to her mother. Rowan stood in front of them. Darius never took his eyes off Selene. The queen smiled as if she had already won. "You look surprised," she said softly. "I learned long ago that wounded people are dangerous. That is why I came prepared." The king's face had become frighteningly calm. "You murdered my father." "Yes." "You destroyed my mate." "Yes." "You hunted my children." "Yes." She lifted her chin proudly. "And I would do it all again." The words echoed through the trees. A cold wind swept through the forest. The great wolf growled. The sound was low and terrible. Even the soldiers looked uneasy. Selene slowly raised her hand. "Bow your heads." No one moved. Said bow. Still no one moved. Fear spread across the soldiers. Something had changed. The queen looked around in confusion. Why are you standing there? An old captain slowly stepped forward. Your Majesty. His voice trembled. The great wolf has chosen them. Silence. The queen's face darkened. What did you say? The old man swallowed. The legends are clear. The wolf bows only before the true royal bloodline. The soldiers exchanged nervous looks. Whispers spread through the forest. True queen. Royal heirs. Lost Luna. Celine's expression turned ugly. Wait, he shouted. I am your queen. But the whispers continued. Darius slowly understood. For the first time in 20 years the people were beginning to doubt her. Celine saw it too. Panic flashed in her eyes. Kill them. No one moved. Kill them. Still nothing. Then something extraordinary happened. A soldier dropped his sword. Another followed. Then another. One by one weapons fell onto the ground. The queen stared in disbelief. What are you doing? The old captain lowered himself to one knee. Forgive us, he said to Elena. The entire forest went silent. Then another soldier knelt. Then 10 more. Then hundreds. A sea of armored men dropped to their knees. The queen's face became white. Whoa. The old captain lifted his eyes toward Elena. We believed you were dead. We never knew the truth. Tears filled Elena's eyes. I never wanted this. The captain bowed his head. But it belongs to you. The words seemed to move through the soldiers like wind. Your Majesty. Someone whispered. The true Luna. The rightful queen. Celine's breathing became uneven. Whoa, whoa. She looked around desperately. Stand up. Command you. Nobody listened. For the first time in 20 years she stood completely alone. Darius looked at Elena. People have chosen. Elena shook her head. I do not want revenge. Then choose justice. He answered softly. A long silence followed. The moon emerged from behind the clouds. Silver light touched the forest. The great wolf stepped forward. It walked toward Elena. Then lowered its head once more. A crown of moonlight seemed to surround it. The soldiers bowed deeper. The queen let out a scream. This cannot happen. She pulled a dagger from her sleeve. If I cannot have the throne, then no one will. She lunged toward Lyra. Everything happened in a heartbeat. Darius moved. Rowan moved. But they were too far away. Then Lyra lifted her hand. Silver light burst from her palm. The dagger shattered into pieces. A shockwave spread through the forest. Celine was thrown backward. She crashed into the ground. Silence. Everyone stared at Lyra. The young woman looked as shocked as everyone else. The moon marks on her skin glowed brightly. Cashin stepped forward. Prophecy. The daughter of the moon. The queen looked terrified. What are you? Lyra slowly raised her eyes. I do not know. But I know one thing. You will never hurt my family again. The words carried strange power. The queen crawled backward. Whoa. You should not exist. Neither of them should exist. She looked at Rowan. The wolf heir. Then at Lyra. The moon heir. Fear twisted her face. The old stories were true. Suddenly she laughed. A sharp, desperate laugh. You think this is over? She reached inside her cloak and pulled out a rolled parchment. I still have this. She opened it and held it high. The royal decree. The old king's seal shone in the moonlight. Darius frowned. That document burned years ago. He saved it. She said proudly. The decree names me as queen. No one can take the throne from me. Cashin suddenly stepped forward. That is not the real decree. The queen froze. The beta reached beneath his cloak. I found the original. He held up another parchment. The real seal. The real signatures. The forest became silent again. Celine's face lost all color. Whoa. Cashin slowly opened the document. I found it hidden beneath the royal archives. Hidden by the man who died protecting it. He looked directly at the queen. The old king never named you his heir. He named Elena. A collective gasp swept through the soldiers. The beta read the decree aloud. Upon my death the crown shall pass to Elena Ravenwood and her descendants, the rightful heirs of the Northern Kingdom. Tears filled Elena's eyes. Darius looked at her in amazement. The old king had known. He had chosen her. Celine's hands began to shake. "Well, this is impossible. You forged it." Cassian held up the royal seal. "Every man here knows the seal of the old king." The soldiers looked at the document, then at the queen. Truth settled over the forest like dawn. The false ruler had been exposed. Celine suddenly screamed, "I will never surrender." She turned and ran. A dark blur moved. The great wolf. Within seconds it stood in front of her. The giant beast blocked her path. Its silver eyes glowed. Celine fell to her knees. "Please." For the first time fear filled her voice. "Please." The beast simply stared at her. Then the old captain stepped forward. "Queen Celine Ashford, you are under arrest for treason and murder." Soldiers surrounded her. This time they obeyed willingly. She looked at Elena. Hatred burned in her eyes. "I should have killed you 20 years ago." Elena looked at her quietly. "That was your mistake." Silence followed. Then a deep howl rose into the night. The great wolf lifted its head toward the moon. The royal pack answered. The sound echoed through the mountains. And then the sacred beast turned toward Rowan. Slowly, deliberately, bowed. The entire forest froze. Cassian whispered the words everyone was thinking. "The future king has been chosen." No one moved. The great wolf remained bowed before Rowan. Its enormous head touched the ground. The royal pack followed. One by one the wolves lowered themselves. The entire forest seemed to kneel. Rowan stood frozen. Rainwater still clung to his dark hair. His golden eyes were wide with disbelief. "Me," he whispered. Cassian slowly nodded. "The first king's blood has awakened. The ancient heir has returned." The soldiers looked at Rowan with wonder. Some smiled. Others cried. For 20 years the kingdom had lived beneath fear and lies. Now hope stood before them. Lyra walked to her brother and gently took his hand. "You are still Rowan," she said softly. A small smile appeared on his face. "And you are still my annoying sister." She laughed through her tears. For the first time that night they looked like ordinary brother and sister again. Darius watched them in silence. Son, daughter, 2 miracles he never knew existed. His chest felt too small for everything inside it. Pride, joy, regret, pain, all at once. Then he looked at Elena. She stood beneath the moonlight with her long chestnut hair blowing in the wind. The silver glow from Lyra's power still danced around her. She looked like a queen from an old legend. The woman he had lost. The woman he had found again. Elena slowly turned toward him. Their eyes met. Neither of them spoke. They did not need words. 20 years of pain stood between them. But something else stood there too. Love. Old and wounded, but alive. A soldier approached and bowed. "Your Majesty," he said to Elena. "The kingdom waits for its queen." The words made her blink. "Am no queen. You are." The old captain stepped forward. "The decree has spoken. The great wolf has spoken. The people have spoken. The crown belongs to you." Silence spread across the clearing. Elena looked at the faces around her. Wolves, soldiers, villagers who had arrived from the mountain. They all watched her, waiting, trusting. She had spent 20 years hiding from this moment. And now it had finally arrived. "I do not know how to rule," she whispered. Darius stepped closer. "Then we will learn together." She looked at him. "You still want me beside you after everything?" His eyes filled with emotion. "There has never been anyone else." A tear slipped down her cheek. He slowly raised his hand, then stopped, as if afraid to touch her. Elena took the final step herself. She placed her hand in his. The warmth of his fingers felt strangely familiar. A soft smile appeared on his face. The first real smile she had seen from him in 20 years. Suddenly cheers rose around them. The soldiers lifted their swords. The wolves howled. The mountain echoed with joy. The long night was finally ending. By sunrise they reached the royal palace. The great gates opened. For 20 years Elena had dreamed of this place. Sometimes with anger, sometimes with sorrow. Now she entered it again. Not as a prisoner, not as an exile, as its queen. The palace looked different, older, better, as if it too had been waiting for her return. Servants lined the halls. Many of them cried when they saw her. Some remembered the young woman who had once filled these rooms with laughter. The throne room doors slowly opened. Sunlight poured inside. At the far end stood the throne. The same throne she had once believed she would never see again. The old captain stepped forward carrying the silver crown. He knelt. "Your Majesty." Elena looked at the crown, then at her children, then at Darius. She took a deep breath and accepted it. The crown touched her head. The entire room erupted. Long live Queen Elena. Long live the true Luna. Long live the royal family. The sound echoed through the palace. Lyra wiped away tears. Rowan looked as if he could hardly believe any of this was real. Darius never looked away from Elena. She had come home. At last. Hours later the celebrations continued throughout the kingdom. Music filled the palace. Candles burned everywhere. For the first time in many years people laughed without fear. In a quiet garden Elena stood alone. She looked at the moon. So much had changed. Soft footsteps approached behind her. She already knew who it was. Darius stopped beside her. "Beautiful night," he said. She smiled softly. For a while they simply stood there. Then he spoke again. "I owe you more apologies than there are stars in the sky." She laughed quietly. "That may be true." He looked at her. "I cannot change the past." "No. But if you allow me I would like a chance to build a different future." She turned toward him. The moonlight touched his face. He looked nervous. The mighty Alpha King looked nervous. It almost made her smile again. "You are asking for another chance. I am begging for one." She studied him. This man was not the proud king who had rejected her. This man had cried for his children, risked his life for her, faced his mistakes, changed. She slowly reached up and touched his cheek. "You hurt me deeply. No. I may never forget it. Understand." Silence. Then she smiled. "But perhaps I can forgive it." Hope filled his eyes. "Perhaps," she repeated. Before he could speak she leaned forward and kissed his forehead. Simple kiss. Soft and warm. But to Darius it felt like the beginning of a new life. He closed his eyes. "Thank you." A laugh suddenly interrupted them. They turned. Lyra and Rowan stood near the garden entrance. Both were smiling. "You two are terrible at being alone," Lyra said. Rowan crossed his arms. "The entire kingdom is celebrating and you are hiding in a garden." Elena laughed. "Come here." The twins walked forward. A moment later all four of them stood together. Family. At last. Then Elena suddenly became very still. She placed a hand over her stomach. Darius frowned. "What is wrong?" She looked up at him. Confusion filled her eyes. Then surprise. Then something else. She began to laugh. "Elena," he said gently. "What is it?" Tears appeared in her eyes. "I do not think the moon goddess is finished with us." Silence. She looked at him. "I think I am pregnant." No one moved. Then Lyra gasped. Rowan nearly fell backward. Darius simply stared. "You are what?" She laughed through her tears. "I think we are having another baby." For one heartbeat the world became completely silent. Then the Alpha King laughed. A deep joyful laugh that echoed through the garden. He pulled Elena into his arms. The moon shone brightly above them. The kingdom had found its queen. The heirs had returned. A family had been rebuilt. And somewhere beyond the palace walls the great wolf lifted its head and howled. Not in sorrow, not in warning, but in celebration. because the story of the true Luna had finally become a story of victory.